following thoughts, opinions, stories, and expressions are meant for those who will appreciate them. If you don't, we hope you keep an open soul to encounter another here on 34 Questions. Peace.
We go.
In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34, and tonight we have a familiar face back on the show. Mr. Devin Ream is back in the building. How you doing tonight, Devin?
Yeah, I am doing well. How about you, 34?
I'm doing good, man. Honestly, I think that since the last time I talked to you, life has been going like this for me, up and down. I've had some crazy highs, I've had some crazy lows, but you know that's how it goes. And I'm just trying to find a rhythm. My job, I work at the high school, and you know, since we're just starting, it's been like 5 days of school, 6 days of school, and I'm just trying to find the rhythm. But I'm excited, man. I feel like this new wave of, and I don't want to jinx it because it's been 6 days of school, but kids seem to have more energy, a better attitude. And I think 1 year back into the classroom, you know, they were kind of still, you know, not really feeling it because they just had 1 year of being out of it. But I think they liked it, and now they're trying to get it back, at least, you know, the social aspect of school back to how it was before. And that's exciting. You know, it makes me feel like they missed each other. They missed, you know, learning together, doing new things together. And yeah, so for me in my position, running the after school program, it's inspiring, and, you know, keeps me motivated and super excited. But yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, I tell you what, man, especially like you were saying, first year back, they're trying to get their bearings. They're trying to remember kind of like how to reprogram what they had before, especially if you're going from like junior high to then high school. You're like, this is a little different, you know? And then like you were saying, you got 1 year back in, whether you're doing like a hybrid learning or all in person or what have you. And yeah, like you were saying, it's like that interaction with everybody again. I think, I truly do think that a lot of folks, when it comes to schooling anyways, I think they're kind of figuring out like, yeah, I may need to find those things where I pick up and learn now, and like when I'm congregated around a lot of other people, because I may not get that once I'm out of school. Right.
It's tougher, man. I don't know for you, but like teaching yourself things, you can do it, but you got to be like extra motivated, because if no one else is with you learning these things, it's like, well, you know, it's all intrinsic, you know, motivation. Being in school, it's a lot easier just because, you know, I don't know for you, but for me, you know, there's a competitive nature to school, and like, you know,
a little bit. Yeah.
You want to be, you want to be the best at certain things.
But for me, it was a soundboard, right? Like I could say something like, oh yeah, because of, you know, like if it was a history class or something, it's like, oh yeah, because of so-and-so doing the blah, 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 blah. And then I'm just like stereotypical white dude, Southwest Missouri. So if there was anybody else that came from even just like St. Louis, right, where you have more of like an urban background, and it's like, no, there were like these organizations, they do this, this, and this. Because out in the country, organizations, right, it was a lot of churches and like small time organization, right? So when you hear about all those things and how it's expanded and how it's throughout the U.S. So if there were people from like other states that were there, or just completely different, you know, racial backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, what have you, I could say something and they would have something that not only related to what I said, but it like actually helped solidify ideas and like overarching kind of like, I would say, guides of like how to do things. That actually helped a lot. Some kids, you know, their parents, like my dad was an accountant. My mom mainly did like economic type stuff. So like if anybody else's parents did something outside of that, that's kind of what you're, you know, exposed to. And so it's like, if I'm in a math class and I'm just like, I remember my dad going clicky clack, and then the little sheet comes out and it tells you this number. And then some other kid is like, yeah, no, my dad's like an engineer. And so really there's a shortcut to this, and they can go, it's like, well, dang, like that's the way to do it. Like, I'm not doing it the my old man way. I'm going to go with your old man way. Like, I'm doing the shortcut. Like, it's a good sounding board. New information being shared. Totally.
And I mean, that's the goal, I think, for any conversation. And I hope people are open to, like, I'm glad that you're open to that, because then I know some folks that might be like, well, you know, your dad can do his thing and I'm going to do what my dad does. So there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different ways to approach it. Totally. So for the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, we normally do some intro questions. We normally do an icebreaker, and then we turn to the Wheel of Fate, and then go to the closeout questions. But since Devin's been on before, feel free to check out his first episode. I believe it's probably going to be 6 episodes before this one, or 7. Check out his answers there. But today we never got a chance to get to the Wheel of Fate. So today we're gonna jump straight into it, if you don't mind, Devin. Is that cool with you?
Do it. Yeah, let's go wheeling.
All right, man. Here goes the wheel on the screen. Just a reminder before I spin it, if any question is too deep, too personal, feel free to pass. There's no pressure. And don't feel like you're cornered to answer these questions.
That's fine.
I will say, man, even I get super anxious or like nervous about asking these questions, because I don't know how people are gonna take them. But I think you'll be good with them for sure. All right. So this first one, number 25, is, what are your distractions?
Oh my gosh, man. My distractions are, I would say they're multitudes of distractions. So like, to put perspective on it, I would say, like, in the morning, my distraction is my obligation to others. So like, when I wake up, it's like, I gotta feed my cats. So that's not something with me. That's just something like my cat's yelling. It's like, rah, rah, and I'm like, oh my God. So I've got to feed them. And then like I go after that, I'm like, okay, I need to take a shower. And then I gotta like get ready. And so that's like the one part of my day where it's like, that is the thing for me to do. And in that moment, like when I'm in the shower, I have shower thoughts all the time, and they race through. I've thought about buying like a pen and a whiteboard so that I could write them down, because sometimes I feel like there's genius stuff in there. And then there's other times where I walk out, and I mean, the second my foot hits the bathroom mat outside my shower, I'm like, man, I don't even remember what I was thinking. Like, what the heck was going on in there? And like, they're gone, right? So it's just like, and then I'm like, okay, I got to make breakfast. So that's for myself a little bit, but definitely for my wife. I love cooking for my wife. So that's like something like I like to do, but at the same time, like I got to do it, speedily. You're not letting people sit hungry, right? And then most of the time, except this summer, because they were only doing 3 episodes a week, I watched some Good Mythical Morning. I go through that, and then it's like other YouTube videos, what have you. I'm drinking my coffee, and then it's like, what do I got to do for people at work? And that's kind of like how the whole day goes. And then during the day, the distractions that are like going to trip me up are like, oh man, new Kendrick. Like, new Kendrick's out. I'm going to be like just absolutely vibing with this. And then I look at like the list of stuff that I've got to do, and I'm like, I mean, I can do that and listen to Kendrick too. This ain't going to be like, come on. And then it's like, I'm halfway through Kendrick's album and I look at the other list. And if I'm not halfway through that list, it's like, all right, Kendrick, I'm gonna have to listen to you like when I'm cooking or something. Like, I'm getting too into the music instead of what I should be doing. Or like, the distractions that everybody has at work, whether it's like a phone call comes in, or just a new priority shows up, like something, somebody didn't show up that day, so you got to take care of this and that. So yeah, multitudes, man. Just it feels like the distractions will multiply, but that makes you savor the like less distracted times a little bit more,
For sure.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned that, how would you rate your focus level? Like when you can get, when you lock in, and you mentioned earlier you were working on something for like about 6 hours.
Totally. Yeah.
What's your focus level like?
So I get what they call like hyper focused. I just, everything goes outside of that, which is odd. I'm a bigger dude, and so I think like a lot of people think that like you would be thinking of just the next things that are coming up in your day. And one of those things, you got to eat, right? You got to eat, you got to drink, you got to have something. And man, when I'm in that hyper focus mode, it's like, I'm not hungry. I don't need to eat anything. Like I'm going to get this figured out, or I'm going to get this set up. I'm going to get this completed until this is done. And it kind of just like, it just like zones in all at one. And I'll admit, what I notice is after that happens, there's a good, like, I'd say 24 hours or so where your brain, it can't do that again. Right.
Interesting.
Like my brain's just like, dude, you turned on the afterburners and you got to give us a minute. Like you can't just keep doing that every single day. And so it's like, okay, fine. Like I'll have to do something simple. And so it's like trying to do things back to simple kind of resets it a little. And then hopefully the day after, it's like, I can go back at it again. But I would say focus level wise, it used to be really, really bad. I would say even a year ago, it used to be really, really bad. Basically, it was multiple times a day. I'd get hour and a half, 2 hours of like a hyper focus time, and then 4 to 5, 6 hours of just like, good luck keeping me on one topic. Good luck keeping me on like any one task. Like I'm probably going to forget half of the stuff that I got to do. And then it was just immediate to like, I got 2 hours. I'm going to do this. And I would like start going through it. And yeah, the 2 hours was up. And then it was like, I think next year I want to go to Yosemite. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. But then again, I got to get a new car. Ooh, if I get a new car, though, it'll be a Subaru. And it's like, who else drives Subarus? Do I know anybody that drives a Subaru? Oh, I got that coworker. Which reminds me, they got to watch my cats. And I'm like, it's like, it started to jump. But yeah. Right. Totally. And so like now I feel like I'm better at keeping the jumping topics at, like just before bed, like I'm getting better at that, so gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I feel like there's some similarities with our workflow in that sense. I know for me, I never really noticed like when I'm like super focused on something and then next day, whether or not I can focus again. I think for me, I definitely noticed slowing down. Like, I don't know if you've done this where, for me, if I get into something, let's say at like 9 p.m. at night, eventually it'll get to a point where like, damn, it's 1 a.m. and I don't know where the time went.
Right.
But then I'm like, I'm so close that maybe I should, let me just do it till I finish. And then that takes another couple hours. And it's like, damn, it's 3 a.m. now. And then the next day, I'll probably wake up knowing that like, oh, let me go check on it again. And then I could only do it for like maybe an hour or two before I'm like, oh, I'm over this, or like I need a break, or I need to do something else. So maybe there is something to that. I never really realized it until you just mentioned that. But yeah, that is interesting. I wonder how many folks out there kind of do the same thing. Maybe it's a natural human thing, or maybe it's something unique to us. I haven't talked to enough people just yet.
Well, and it's one of those things, like I know a lot of like ADHD folks, or just people who are really into game theory, they talk about the dopamine hit, right? So like, so it's one of those things where like, I think when I'm in that hyper focus mode of like 6 to 8 hours, I feel like there's a lot of miniature like accomplishments within that, especially if it's something I've never done before. And I'm like, yes. Like you feel yourself kind of going up that ladder. And then like you were saying, the next day, you know how far you've gone. And so in that hour or two, if you're not hitting those miniature milestones again, like you were saying, it's like, yeah, maybe I've hit a dead end. Like, I'm over this. Like, I gotta do something else. I gotta figure out what's going on. And maybe if I get back to it, maybe that'll happen. And I saw that happen with video games all the time. Like you said, I was a big MLB The Show guy. I used to play that all the time. And like you were saying, I'd look, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I'll go to bed at 11:15. That's a good time. And so I will do that and it'll be fine. And then I get like so many challenges done and I look up and I'm like, oh, well, now it's like 11:30. Man, I might as well just finish this whole segment. And then it's like, I would just do that. And like you were saying, by the time you get back to what you actually should have been doing, you're like, all right, well, 2 a.m., that's an okay one. That's a good time to just hit the hay. Here we go. And you realize that like there is like this like downtime. You have to have downtime before you actually like fall asleep. And yeah, I didn't like that feeling of like I was still at 2 a.m. somehow. I was still like jittery, like, yeah, man, I bet I could get this done. I bet I could get that done, but I gotta go to bed. There's no way I can do that right now. Like, there's no way. And I'm like, I still need downtime though. And then I'd look at my phone and I would hope to like scroll across some video that like, oh, the MLB The Show, do this for blah, blah, blah. And like, if I saw that, I knew I had to scroll past it because I would watch that until 3 a.m. and then do what it's like, no. And yeah, Madden, that can do it to folks.
That happens. That's me. Madden and basketball games.
Totally. Yeah, NBA 2K. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know how many relentless nights I spent on it was 2K21, 2K20, like, yeah.
Do you ever do franchise mode in those games?
Oh yeah.
That's what I really get lost in franchise mode.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I wish they were more robust. Like, everything's microtransactions right now.
I know. They're like grind for hours and pay nothing, or give us more money and you can have most of everything that you want.
Yeah.
They're like, like I'm used to 007 GoldenEye. You shouldn't be doing this to me. Like, come on, man. Like,
I wish there was a game company out there that would just be like, nah, screw all this cash grabbing right now.
Right.
And let's give a complete game and put it out there.
Totally.
And I don't know. I don't think I've seen it just yet. You know what game I've been on lately? I don't know if you've been playing this one, Multiverses.
Yeah. Yep.
I've been playing that.
I got a buddy of mine who's been playing that a lot. He told me, he's like, you need to get into it. And I'm like, oh man, like, are you sure? Like, he's like, dude, it's pretty good. I'm like, like, man,
I don't know if you're into Smash or like, those
I've got my Switch. I've got my Switch with I
was never a Smash guy. I'll tell you that.
No. Yeah.
Because I always got my butt whooped and I would never and I don't know, holding I think GameCube controller was one of them, and N64 I know was the first one, which that made sense to me. But for the GameCube controller did not feel like, I know for a lot of folks it did, but for me it felt wonky.
Didn't make sense, man. Then, it didn't make sense.
It turned me off, and so But like Multiverses, I don't know if it's because I'm using the Xbox controller and like the layout of like how to dodge and how to do the combos and all this stuff. I am sucked into it. I'm like, I can do this, and it's different from Smash Bros. When I would just feel like I died like just like right away. So
totally.
Yeah.
And see, that was the thing when I was like a younger kid and in high school and stuff, like you're saying, that was when GameCube and that whole Super Smash was going through. And at the time I was like GameCube controller, it was cartoony, happy characters. And I was like a little moody emo kid, I think. I just was like, I was like, why do I want to play with a plumber who's happy all the time? No, like I'm going to go with like Resident Evil this or like, these type of things. And then it was like, I got into college and pretty much everybody was like, yeah, but you can't have any game that you're playing where it's like evil, bad, killing stuff, what have you. And I'm like, well, why? Like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, it gets like stressful and it gets too crazy. And then you're having to learn all these new systems and all this stuff. I'm like, I guess so. And then they're like, the biggest reason though is, I mean, it's way easier to make drinking games out of Mario type, Nintendo based games than this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's really what it was. And that's when it was like, I do like Super Smash Bros. I keep getting like my butt kicked every time, but I'm having a good time. Who cares if Mario gets hit in the head by another hammer? Like, I don't care. And I get, it was what it was. And now I'm going to get sucked into it. I know I will. Yeah.
I was going to say oh man. My ego, it was too fragile for Smash Bros.
Totally. Back when I was a teenager, yeah. Because you wanted to be like the kid who was good, that was great at it, right? Like Guitar Hero and stuff like that. You wanted to be the kid that was like, yeah, no, I can do through the fire and flames on expert, like not looking, whatever. And I just knew in my head anyways, it was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be that kid. And so... it's like, I think that especially with certain video games, it was like that. But at the same time, there were other games that like, I knew my buddies, they were never going to get good at it. Madden was one of them. I knew that. Madden or MLB The Show, I was good at sports games. I was like, you put me in a sports game, I know the rules, I know what's going on, I can play it on the hard modes, I don't care. And
it's same here.
Fragile ego, man. But I did. It was like, porcelain, just really, really just like, oh, well, it'll be okay if it just don't drop me. And it would just, no good.
Well, speaking of ego, how do you feel like it's changed since that high school times to now? Like,
I would say now I way healthier ego about me now than I did back then. I think back then there was a lot of things that I was beyond insecure about, right? Like just things that it's like, I was a chubby kid back then. And of course you're trying to look good for whichever gender you're trying to go for. And I knew in my head, it was like, like I'm not going to be the super tall, athletic, whatever kid. So like, I got to be funny. I got to do this or I got to do that. And so there was that element of it. But then at the same time, like I was worried about school stuff. Like I knew my parents expected, like, you're going to college. You're not gonna like, and I think part of it was like, you're this overweight kid, like good luck going into the military. Like you're not going to do that. So like, and why blue collar work? You think you're going to do blue collar work? Like I doubt it. And I'm just like, I gotta go. Like this is gonna be rough. And so I had to do that. And so there was that insecurity of like, am I smart enough to do that? Am I gonna be, what have you? Because I think back then there was a lot of, I can pick 3 people that are better than me at this video game. I can pick 3 people that are better than me at academics. I can pick 3 people that are better than me at I played baseball in high school. So like 3 people that are better than me at high school baseball. So it was like, when you're always thinking about these people who are supposedly better than you at that, you get very insecure and you get kind of mean at times. Like if somebody tries to call you out on it and you just feel like, oh, well, if I just like hit at their low point, then it's going to be fine. And luckily I never had to do that often. I was always trying to like kind of calm the mood and be more funny and try to, do those things. But at the same time, when everything goes quiet, you're at home, you're just sitting there playing a game or you're doing whatever. Those thoughts would creep in and you're just sitting there kind of going like, man, what the heck am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? And I think it's like, the only thing I can say to kids that are like that, where you feel like you have way too many interests and you're always like 3rd, 4th, or 5th place at whatever, it's sad to hear and it's hard to hear at times, but those folks that are at the gold, silver, and bronze, they are not great at a lot of other things. And they may get disinterested in the very thing that they're gold, silver, bronze level at, right? And so it's one of those things where having the knowledge of I'm going to work on myself, or I'm going to work on me doing that thing, that was a way better driver than comparing myself to somebody else, you know? And I think that actually, it made it to where it was like you're more vulnerable with yourself because you know your own weak points. And you're like, yeah, no, I'm not great at that. And this is going to be uncomfortable and this is going to be weird, but I care about my improvement. It has nothing to do with the person that's making 18 mil a year doing whatever. Like, this is about me. I want to be better at this. And if that's the next step I got to take, that's the next step I got to take. I can't be jealous of the staircase because it's so tall, right? You just put your hand on the rail and you keep going up the stairs, right?
Yeah.
You just keep going. Yeah.
No, that's interesting, man. Cause like, you know, I don't know if you see the little thing I have in the back that says note to self, let go of ego.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't know, like, you know, you were mentioning just not comparing yourself and just kind of, you know, improving yourself. And I used to use this phrase called, like, you know, just be better than yesterday. It's not my phrase. I know it's a phrase that's been used all the time.
Yeah.
But even then, that makes me think, is that egotistical? Like, for me to think of myself yesterday and try to be better than that person? It's
right.
id.
It's very id. Right. I think a lot of people, when they hear the word ego, I think they automatically attach pride to it. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that, like, a true ego or a true id, if you wanted to spin it in a positive light, it's self-confidence and it's self-assuredness, right? Like, I know pretty much any job I will get hired for or that I will ever do, I will probably be a very quick learner at it. Will I be an expert at it? That is to be determined. But will I be the best that ever did it? More than likely not. But I might be really, really good. And so it's like one of those things where I think an ego is a really bad thing whenever that pride element is turned up to 11, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, not only am I a quick learner, but I'm going to be the best one. I'm going to be the guy that does blah, 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 or the gal that is going to do this without the help of X, Y, Z, right? Like, it's one of those things where that's when it's like, it almost feels like you're closing yourself off to the, like, actual reality of something, right? Your ego is shielding you. Your ego shouldn't shield you. Your ego should basically be this thing of, I know who I am, I know what I'm capable of, and if I make mistakes, that's not going to hurt my ego. My ego is moldable, right? It's able to take a hit. It's able to get, moved around a little bit, because otherwise you're looking at an ego that shatters. And then that's when people go off the deep end, usually, right? Like, when you crack somebody's ego, it's usually not a good thing. They get kind of,
It's 0 to 100, honestly, especially if you can, squeeze through that crack and really touch whatever insecurity they got going on. I've seen it. And I don't know if it's ever really happened to me. I do a lot of, like, I think I mentioned to you, I'm an overthinker. So if someone were to attack my ego, I'd kind of just, like, be quiet and, like, hella analyze what they just said. But no, I mean, we're kind of stuck on this ego topic, but I do want to ask you, how does that play into, like, your podcast and, how you're, because I know for me, I try to separate it, right? Like, I enjoy what I do, even if it never takes, like, what people would consider success. But I also know there's people who ask me all the time, like, oh, how's the podcast going? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's great. I'm still talking to people. I'm still recording episodes. And then they're like, yeah, is it blown up yet? And I'm like, nah, but I'm really not sure how to answer that question, because in my mind it's like, I don't think they're understanding what I'm getting from it. And like, I almost have to, like, validate that idea of success through what I'm doing. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that does hurt my ego a little bit, because I'm like, I mean, yeah, if you're not seeing it as a success, then maybe it isn't. And that I would say that's one of the lows I had this past month, like since I talked to you. It's like someone brought that up, and I'm like, damn, like, is it really something that's worth it? But I know deep down it is, and I feel like deep down it's gonna work out. But just trying to my ego trying to like live up to other people's expectations or success. So yeah, for you, does it affect you at all, or you've been able to kind of like handle it?
I feel like I've been okay at handling it. Like you were saying, there are times like that. I think the thing that I get out of that whenever somebody says like, oh, how's that going? How's your podcast doing? Like, you know, getting tons of, revenue or anything coming in from it, and I think in my head, the thing that I try to think of is like, what did I tell this person about the podcast? Like, what did I say that they think that like the first thing they jump to is revenue, what? Because if the last thing that I talked to them about was that like, oh, I got a sponsor, like, this is so cool, what have you, then that's probably why they think that way. Is it's like, oh, well, is your sponsor paying you a bunch of money? And you're kind of like, yeah, that's not totally what I'm trying to get out of it. Like, and so it's one of those things where I try to, it's almost like I have to reaffirm in my own mind, like, what am I doing this for? What is the true meaning of this? And it's not trying to be philosophical. It truly is like trying to ground yourself of like, is this the thing that I want to do? Because my wife's heard me, I don't know how many times, say like, God, when is this gonna pay off? Like, when is the, and I think in my mind, when I say that, I mean more of like, I just get more affirmation out of it. I would rather hear from a cookbook author or some chef or like, somebody who I hadn't talked to in a long time, and they listen to my podcast and they go, wow, like this episode about whatever, and they mention details about it, and they're like, I loved that episode. That was really great. I feel like that is like, that reaffirms exactly why I'm doing it, right? Because that's a lot of the reason why I listen to a lot of other podcasts. I'm not doing it so that like, this guy can get more money or this gal can get another sponsor, so that it's like, no, they have something to offer that I can just listen to, and it's great. Like, it's great to listen to. It keeps me, engaged. It makes me feel like there's people who understand what I want to learn or what I want to know. And so that's kind of like where I had to draw that fine line. Like, I think in the beginning, I think it hurt. Like, it's funny you bring all this up. The 1 year of my podcast was August 21st.
Oh,
so
wow.
2 days ago. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
And
man.
So, yeah, right. Yeah. So it was like, I sat there thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, I'm at the 1 year mark. Did I expect to be here with it?
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm way above and beyond what I thought I would be at. And there's a part of you that wants to like somewhat take stock in that and be like, yeah, I did an awesome job. I did. But at the same time, there's the me, right? Who's like, no, I could take this so much further. I could do this and this and this and this. And God, if I just had this much more time, I could do this and this. And so like, I would rather feel like that than feel like I'm already at the top. I think when you get to the top, that's when you have to start looking elsewhere, right? It's like, what's the next mountain I'm going to climb? And so kind of like what you were saying, when somebody mentions to me like, hey, how's the podcast going? I think one of my buddies, he had a birthday and I was talking to him and he said that. He said, well, how's the podcast going? Like, I haven't listened in a while, but I know you're still doing it. And so like, that felt good in a way, which was weird because I was like, he did admit that he's not listening to it that often. But at the same time, he does know, like, yeah, I know you're still doing it. And I think in my mind, the reason why I felt that like felt good was because he knew it's like he likes doing that. Like he likes doing the podcast. And that's why I know he's still doing it. And I check and I'll see the episodes, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing it. It's awesome. I'm going to talk to like this author, and I'm going to try to call this restaurant and see if I can talk to the chef. And then I've, of course, talked to so-and-so and this person, and we go over, other countries' food. And he's just like, well, I'm just glad it's still making you happy, man. Like that's the thing that you should be doing, is the stuff that makes you happy. And it's like, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like, it's hard to grab what you had initially as this, like, it's going to be a new adventure, and you want to take it to the highest level. But at the same time, it's like, you got to enjoy the ride a bit,
Yeah.
That's
been a tough one for me. And, I think I'm getting better at it. When people always say, like, you might not be where you were, but, look at how far you've come.
Right.
And I think I'm getting better at that.
It's hard to look back. I think that's the, you know what I mean? Like, cause it's like, I already went through that. Why am I looking back? Like, I've already done all that. And so it's hard to, look in the rear view, cause it's just like, I know what's back there. I did it. So like, I don't need to rehash that. And so it just feels like, what can I do moving forward? Like, what am I gonna, and that's the thing is, I know at least with my podcast, I feel like there's this thing of like, kind of like the thing I was trying to figure out before coming on here. Like, I'm grabbing a lot of things and I'm learning new things. And that's like, that is insanely valuable. And it's just to myself. And like, I think there's a lot of people that like, they are so beaten down by whatever it may be. And that happens in life. So you shouldn't harangue people about that. But like, I know of people that they go to work, they get their butt kicked all day, they go home, and they're like, just let me eat this mac and cheese and let me watch, whatever is streaming that's hot and new, because I need to relax, because tomorrow it's going to happen again. Right. And I got to do this. And I feel very lucky that I found something that, all I got to do is go home, and I'm like, what's the next thing I got to figure out? Right. Like, what's the next thing I'm going to build on? What's the next thing I got to research? What's the it's like this, I don't want to say never ending journey, but I mean, it's your own knowledge. Right. Yeah. And so, and I think that's why teaching is alluring. Like, you feel like you're part of someone else's never ending journey of knowledge. Right. Yeah. Like, you're a part of that. You get to be one of the people that sets blocks in front of somebody's path and gets to go, okay, I built you this path, like, take it, like, you run with it, like, you got to do this. And there's something to that I was always allured to with teaching, was like, you're bestowing upon somebody this thing that literally took centuries to figure out. And you just get to say, like, a couple paragraphs in a textbook, and it enlightens everybody, right? Or you show them how to do something, and they get to use that the rest of their life.
Yeah. And hopefully, like, you'll stay connected, just because when they think of that in their memory, it's like, yo, that person was there. And
totally.
And I think that, that's a part of, I guess, part of my ego as well, is like working with students or working with kids. I hope they do remember that, I was that guy that kind of like, just exuded some kind of energy that they felt like, oh, this guy makes me feel like I should do it, instead of being afraid. And I always try to tell kids, like, it's okay to fail. It's okay to like try something, not like it, and then move on to the next thing. Because for them, it's almost like, and I think we've all gone through it. we try something and we want to be the best at it, and when we're not, it just feels just so horrible. And
yeah.
So,
oh man.
But we got to keep pushing. I think everyone learns it as they grow up, and I'm trying to get these kids to learn it within, the year that I see them or I'm with them. But
I know for me, I don't know about you, but like, I know for me, whenever I did student teaching for a while, or whenever I talk to other people that I know that may have less experience at whatever I'm doing at work, I love being those people's like hype man. I love doing that. And it's because I didn't have that. Like I didn't. When I was going through school, sports, whatever, it was like I had these, in my mind, I don't know why, but the word lion tamer comes up. It might be because I'm a Leo. I don't know, but it's like, which I don't care about that stuff, but I'm just saying, weird coincidence. But no, it's like, they were always trying to like tame your expectations or tame, your enthusiasm for things, or tame, your ego, tame your, excitement, tame whatever. It was always that. It was like, I would get super excited about like, oh my gosh, in pitching, like I finally learned how to throw a friggin' slider and I'm not twisting my wrist, which might cause injury or whatever. Like I figured out the hand holding, I figured out the arm motion. Like I cannot wait to use this. And then inevitably a coach or like, a player that I played with would be like, yeah, it takes quite a few months to get that down.
Got you.
The accuracy and da-da-da-da-da. And it was like in my head, I'm like, well, no, Dub, I just learned this and I'm excited. You don't have to friggin' like, I had a fire going over here and you just came over with a bucket of water. Like, what the heck, man? And then inevitably I'd go out and now it's like, I don't even want to throw the freaking slider. Like like it's going to take me months to do this. Like, what the heck? I'll do it in my own time at home. Like, why do I got to do it now? And so that's how I felt, where people were trying to like tame that down. And now if somebody comes up to me and they're like, yeah, I got this done, but I don't know. Like, I think, I just feel like I could have done better. I'm like, man, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Nobody else got it done. You did. Like, look at that. Like, you take it, run with that. Like I said, I love being the hype man for somebody, just because, like I said, I think doing the taming thing, which I'll admit I'm guilty of doing it, and you don't think that you are, right? You think you're just like, oh, I'm trying to help too. And then at the same time, it's like, did what I say kind of come off as downer? If that's the case, sorry about that. But at the same time, if I know it's a moment where I'm like, ooh, Devin the hype man can come out, that's when I try to go all out for it.
I feel you, man. Yeah. I am tempted to like, I had to give a speech in front of the kids recently, and I was tempted to be like, I'm your biggest fan. Like, just to tell them that,
right.
Like, just remember I'm your biggest fan. And I also am the kind of person to tell them like, don't have expectations, like,
right.
You can dream, right. You can push through, but like, if you were telling me, if I was that person, you were trying to learn a slider and you had taken a step forward, I tried to not put it in your head like, oh, that's the greatest thing, and you got
right.
it, even though you might not have, right? But I think now that I'm older, I think I would tell that person or tell you that like, okay, so what about tomorrow? Like, what are you gonna do tomorrow? How are you gonna improve on that
right.
tomorrow? And keep it within that, instead of telling them like, oh yeah, man, like you got it, and you're gonna,
right.
if you work at it, you're gonna get drafted and all this stuff.
Right.
I'm trying to keep
basically it's like
that.
Keeping them in the moment, right? It's like live in that moment, live in it, like enjoy it. And then what's the next thing? Not what's the thing you got to do in months, but what is literally the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's and like you were saying, I agree with you on that. Expectations.
That's a doozy,
man. Whoa, those are things that, like, I think you hear it as a kid and you're like, yeah, but you got to be prepared for what you want to do. So, like, why wouldn't you try to figure out? And then you get older and you're like, man, expectation, like, throw that out the window. Like, you're never going to use that. And now I'm at this point where it's like, you almost have to grab expectations, and almost always, you know, you got like 34 questions for it. You're basically just like, you're like, is this realistic? Is this something you even want? Is this something that you're doing for somebody else? Are you doing it for yourself? Yeah. Do you think this is actually going to benefit you in the long run? Is this going to be something that, like, turns away so-and-so, but then makes somebody else enjoy your time more? Like, you know, and it's like one of those things where it's like, it comes with these like guidelines, and yeah, it's interesting. And kind of like what you mentioned, I think part of it, I like talking to one of my buddies because he's got 3 kids. And I like talking to him because, like, he had kids young, right? And now his kids are getting a little older. Mm-hmm. And I like hearing it because I don't have kids. I'd like to have kids, but it's like one of those things where, like, whenever I talk to him about his kids, it's interesting to hear his perspective on, like, what they say, what they do, and then what he thinks about what they're doing. Right? Because it's like with him, he doesn't have expectations on them, right? Like, they're his kids. Like, you love them unconditionally. You try to help them as much as you can, and you just try to do what you can when you can, and you try to steer them the right way. But, like, he truly doesn't say, like, you have to go to college. Like, no, you know, would I like you to? Maybe. Depends on what it looks like at that point. If you have to go into $100,000 some odd in debt again, like I might have had to, well, then no. Like, why would I want? I hated doing that. Why would you want to do that? And so it's like one of these things where, like, that version of just no expectations and being truly an unconditional, caring, loving, you know, little miniature version of you and your family, there is something freeing about that. Or so it sounds. I don't know why, but it sounds really freeing to look at another human being that you care about more than anything, and you get to not put like these barriers or guidelines around them. You get to just basically go, do what you want to do, and I can help if I can. And if I can't, then you're probably going to teach me something. Like, you're going to do something for me. And yeah, for some reason that sounds very freeing. I don't know why.
You know, I think it might be because that the expectations of ourselves that we put on ourselves, and like we talk about unconditional love, and that's great that he has that for his children, but do we have it for ourselves when we think of like our expectations, you know, of ourselves? So
man.
That is something we could talk about.
You're right, man.
We could chew on that for a while, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a beef jerky cud right there. That's, oh man. Yeah, because you're right. I put conditions on myself. I put conditions on my cats, for God's sakes. I'm just like, if you jump up in my lap right now, I swear to God, like, I tried for 3 hours. I'll get up if you jump up here. And then I hear this, I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, you know, and so, yeah, like you were saying, putting conditions on yourself.
That's a bomb. So, that's a bomb for sure.
It's a bomb. Yeah.
Just a heads up, man. We have about 10 minutes left in our hour. Right. We got through one spin. I think we'll try to fit in this last spin, so we can at least get to it.
Let's try to do like a lightning round with spins. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's try to get 5 in 10 minutes. So here we go.
Let's do it.
So you had 25 first. This next one is gonna be 23. 23 is what makes you feel vulnerable.
Oh my gosh, my weight swimming. I feel very vulnerable when I'm swimming. I have stretch marks. I feel like Are people staring at me? If I wear a shirt, is it going to be okay? And then I'm like, only fat people wear a shirt when they swim. Why would I do that? So you feel very vulnerable with that. I also feel vulnerable when I am flying. So pre-flight, all this stuff, I get really anxious. And then the second we're in the air, so like altitude level, I'm perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. And then once it goes back into landing, I'm like anxious again until I hit the ground, which is weird because like statistically, all those things, like I know it's one of the safest forms of travel, but I don't know if it's because I lose control of some kind. Yeah, like when you're on the ground, when you're on the ground and somebody else is even driving, it's like I can at least unbuckle my seatbelt or like do something. I don't know, jujitsu. I have no idea, but you feel like you're in more control for some reason. So I feel vulnerable when it has anything to do with like, is somebody going to see something about my body and they think it's weird, or if I'm not in control. Next one.
Got you. I just got to shut up because I feel like that's what makes these questions go longer is when I want to say something. But 31 is... How high are your walls? Like as far as like when you meet someone new and letting them in, seeing the real you? Yeah.
Yeah. I would actually say that if it's somebody that I don't know very well and I don't know if I'm going to see them again, my walls are incredibly short. They're like barely ankle height, right? I'm just kind of like, hey man, how's it going? I feel like I over what do they call that? Like info dump, right? I'm just like, yeah, man, I went to college here and I did this and I did that. And at the end of it, I'm like, man, I really blabbed the ear off of that like guy. I don't know why I did that. And then there's other folks that like have known me for years and years and years. And I may not have a high wall all the way around, but like near the entry, walls are pretty high up there. Like there's certain topics I make the wall, and it could be something that has to do, I don't know, with my past. Sometimes it has something to do with, it could be something that maybe I thought I could do for them or something I thought I could do for myself before seeing them or what have you. I'm not sure, but it's like there's a segment of wall there where I've got guards, I got a watchtower, they're 50 feet tall. And then the next like segment over, it's just like, hey, if you step over on this, we'll give you a peanut butter cup. And yeah, you can watch the new Moana 2. And it's like, Moana 2? I didn't even know that was out. And so it's like one of those things. Next one.
You. Let's go. I feel you on that though. Very, very similar. Yeah. I wish I could say something, but it's okay. You got number 29, and I think I might have asked you this before, but let's see how you do in the lightning one. Can you say you lived a full life?
So I would say that myself, I lived a full life, but I don't know if I've lived a complete full life for others. That's what I would say. Yeah. For me, I've done a lot, like a majority of things that I would like to do or I would want to have done, and then I did it. But for others, whether it's like I want to have kids and I want to do things for them, or it could be even other family members that I'm like, I want to share this experience or what have you. I feel like that's the arena I haven't fully lived up to yet. Well, what do you think?
For myself?
Yeah.
I think very similar to your answer. It almost feels like I feel content with where I'm at in life, what I'm doing, what I'm about, and how I've kind of like been able to serve others in the things that I do.
Yeah.
But like I don't think I've done enough for my parents. They might say something different. I don't think I've done enough for my friends or for my girl, but they might say something different. Like it almost feels like there's things that we do for other people. At least for me, I just feel like a super selfish person sometimes, man. Like, the kid thing. I don't know how old you are. I'm 32. And
I'm 32. Yeah.
Someone Someone asked me like, you gonna have kids? And I'm like, might be too selfish for that. Or like, and I kind of I want to be better, but I know I got this dream that I'm chasing. I know I'm not financially ready. I'm not in a position to feel like if I did have a kid, then, you know, I'd be able to give them the best life possible. Like it sucks for me to feel that way, but I've made a lot of selfish choices in the past that put me in this position. So that's why it makes me feel like, you know, it wouldn't be a great idea. And so, but who knows, maybe I'll learn if that situation ever comes up, and, you know, maybe that's what's going to take for me to be like more selfless, is for that situation to come up. But yeah, at this point, very similar to yours. I feel like it's full for who I am, but not for everybody else, which maybe that's why we're still here. You feel me?
Right. Right. Yeah. I know they say that really corny fruit salad thing. Like, everybody knows tomatoes a fruit, but you don't include it in your fruit salad. That's wisdom. Right. And I've always looked at it as wisdom is a greater thing to have than knowledge. Only reason being because wisdom are the steps that you've taken, or the actions that you've taken and learned. Knowledge plus what you would have done, could have done, and what you will do, while knowledge is just understanding what has been told to you.
Word. And I mean, I don't feel this way about myself, but some people think I'm a wise person, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's go.
Next one, man.
Yeah, next one.
Bang, bang, bang.
This is fun though. I might totally switch up the way I do the wheel, because this is turning out a lot of fun. Number one, what makes you unique?
What makes me unique, or at least a lot of the things I thought made me unique, are little quirks that could be anything else, somebody else, who knows. I think the main thing is what makes me unique is the way that I can interact with others. I think that it could be anybody from any different stroke or folk. It could be somebody who was a pastor for 15 years and somebody who could have been a hooker for 13. And I think I could relate to them either way and have a good conversation and, you know, be a good person to them. They both deserve kindness. They both deserve to have people around them or in their life that care. And I know that seems like a religious altitude. And so I can bring it back down to just something more simple, which is just, there are folks out there that struggle with physical burdens all the time. Could be they're in a wheelchair, could be that they have a really bad shoulder from an accident at some point. And yeah, they get cranky on days where that thing really, really hurts. Yet there are people out there that have gone through traumatic things and they would never tell a soul. They would never do anything. And on their bad days, they don't even go out in public. Right. And so it's one of those things where I feel like whenever I meet somebody, the thing that's unique to me anyways, is I try as hard as I can to basically look at them as hopefully a complete human being, even if they don't feel complete. You know,
I feel that so much, man, because I think similar in that way. We gotta. And you said you're a Leo?
Yeah, I'm a Leo, man.
I am not a Leo, but there must be some similarities. Maybe it could be 1990?
Yeah. 90.
Maybe that year is something.
Yeah, that's the year, man.
The
solar system was right before the dot-com boom, right? But it was after the weird Reagan year. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, very interesting.
Like,
all right, let's get this last one in.
Do it.
Here we go. 25. I believe you got that already, so we're gonna do that one more time. So let's go. Yeah, number one again. All right,
do it again.
Third time's the charm. Yeah, exactly.
We got this. Here we go.
All right, 23. Do you have a number between 1 and 34 you'd like to choose for this last one?
Sure. Let's do 17.
Okay, 17. Well, I think this is a good one to end, but is there anything you'd like to get off your chest?
Oh, man. Yeah. Whew. That's a good one, actually. So, yeah, what I want to get off my chest is I hope that people feel the weight of what's going on right now. I feel like whether it's kids going through school, whether it's parents that are trying to help their kids go through school, whether it was the pandemic, whether you believed in it or not, whether it was your typical CEO driving in on a Jaguar somewhere or a Maserati, and they're thinking, man, we just need to get everybody back in this office, what have you. Humanity is a wide net, and there's a lot of things that I think, whether it's the climate stuff going on right now, I saw flooding going on in Phoenix, which was crazy to see.
I did not hear about that yet, but wow. Yeah.
It was on TikTok, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, it was like a river of asphalt. Like, the roads are getting destroyed. And it's just like, yeah. But anyway, like, all the stuff that's going on right now, I really wish I was in a point of authority or power or what have you, because I really wish that people could look around and be like, let's just do what is best for ourselves right now. If you're a single mom, one of the best things you could do is probably work from home, be able to take care of your kid, because childcare is super expensive in this country. And I don't know, be right now I live in Oregon, so like Oregon Health Plan, be on OHP. You're sure your employer can provide some medical insurance, but you have a child. So we need to make sure that child grows up to be the best person that they can be. And we need to make it to where there's not some type of income limit or some type of whatever to make that kid not get braces when that kid could have the most beautiful smile ever. And she or he knows that, but they're like, I know my mom and dad can't afford braces, so that ain't ever going to happen. Right. And there's all those kinds of things that I really wish that people could take stock in, look around you and ask, what is really great for them? And does that also mean that it's going to be great for me? The phrase of like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I think that people need to start looking around their own ganders and they need to start going, you know, I need to stop being judgmental. I need to just ask them what could benefit you or what could help you out the most right now. And what could I do to meet that? But also, how will that help me? How will that benefit me? And I think that a lot of people need to do that.
Sure, man. I would like to add stuff, but maybe we should save that for a part 3, man, because I think we have good conversations. And
totally, man. I am totally down for a part 3. I would like to be one of the first people that have answered all 34. I love it.
Okay. If it's like one of these quick round ones, because this is pretty fun. Totally. But yeah, man, I want to thank you again, Devin, for stopping by.
Absolutely. 34, you're doing a good thing out here. It feels slightly like therapy. It feels really fun, introspective. Yeah, man. It's amazing.
I appreciate that, man. I still got to hop on yours. I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to sign up. But let me know if there's new topics that you are thinking of doing it.
I'll plug it right now. Plate in Time. We've got 1997 coming up. So yeah, I got 1991, I believe, coming out Thursday. So yeah, and then 1997 is coming out the next time. United Foods of America. We are going to Arizona. Weird ass talking about Phoenix. Anyways, then Mapping the Culinary World. We're going to Vanuatu to see their cuisine. Yeah.
I have never heard of Vanuatu, man.
Right. I know. It's a chain of islands. It's in the Pacific. I'm like, Vanuatu. Okay. And so I go there, and then obviously checking out Culinary Convo at culinaryconvo.com, or go to our YouTube. You can see the images of the food that we go over, what have you, my special guests. Yeah. And eventually you'll see 34 on here. Yeah.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
Speaking into existence.
Yeah. And then coming out here soon, Lulade Mogus. She is publishing her Ethiopian cookbook, Enabla, Recipes from an Ethiopian Kitchen. Yeah. So Tons of great things. And that's all food wise. And then obviously listen to 34 Questions.
Thank you,
Get
sir.
within yourself. Feel yourself, you know? Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of this journey for yourself as well. But yeah, man, I want to thank all the folks out there. If you've enjoyed the conversation and would like to be a part of it, feel free to check out 34questions.com. And remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love. Let me do this ad, and I got to do that thing again. But
do it.
Oh, here we go. Like if you might,
share if you care, subscribe for a vibe you didn't know was there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Devin.
Yeah.
And yes, reach out, reach forward. As always, much love. We'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace.
Deal.
Fades out from there. But yeah, man. Cool.